Hello again, it's Noob, and some of you might be thinking, why am I showing you a cheap and incomplete and beat up set of knife and forks? And that's a good question, but some of you who've been around lockpicking for a while may already know the answer to that, and that is using cheap knives to upcycle into lockpicks. Because when you think about it, some of the work is already done. This is a set I got for less than £5 on eBay. Why? Well, it's beaten up, it's incomplete, and you can probably see from here there's damage on some of the items. So it was super cheap. I'm surprised it was even on eBay. Trying to find something which is sort of this broken but still has some good qualities about it. It's actually relatively hard. And what do I mean by that? Well, I don't like to upcycle things for a video which are still perfectly usable in some regard, and there is a caveat. You might say, well, they're still perfectly usable. Yeah, I get that, but it's not a full set, and some of them are already damaged, and there's water damage on a lot of these handles anyway. What I'm saying is, they're not a premium thing. Upcycling one or two of these for a video to show how you could do this, I'm not so worried about. If it was a full set or they're in better condition, I would actually have misgivings about doing it. But I'm not going to judge anybody. It's your items, and that's fine. But let's have a look at this. First of all, I don't know whether you saw two words on this pack here: stainless steel and rosewood handle. So the steel is a bit thicker. I think it's around 50 thousandths of an inch, maybe a little bit thinner. But nevertheless, it's stainless and will make a thick but relatively good lock pick. So I might try and thin it down a little bit, but I'll try not to thin down too much because you'll lose some of the integrity. The other thing is rosewood, great wood, really great wood for lock picks. It's also got brass pins in here, so think about that. If I thin this down, thin this down, thin this down, make sure I epoxy it. I don't know if I'm going to tap these pins out or not, depends on how it holds together. If they fall out, I'll re-epoxy them. If not, I won't. But I'm just thinking, if I make that handle really nice, just look at its profile. It's almost like perfect for a lockpick. It's really, really nice. I can use this edge for the flat edge of the back of the pick shaft. And yeah, really nice. So rosewood, brass, steel, everything about that's really good. Just to show you that some of these might not be salvageable directly. So we've got some, this, don't know if focus will work on this. I'll tap it there. Yeah, it's yeah, some of these are a bit not so nice, are they? But it doesn't matter. The only thing I can't think of what to do with is the forks. What I might actually do is just restore them a little bit, give them some love and attention and oil, and do something with them. Why can't I do anything lock picking wise with these? Well, you probably could, but they actually bend up and then down here. So they're not straight. It's possible I could maybe work out a tension tool or something from one of these, but it wouldn't serve a big function. It's probably better for me to buff and shine these forks up and add some, resand back these handles and give them a new lease of life and actually use them, than it is to do anything lockpicking related. So I might actually take one or two of these profiles, make a couple of lockpicks for you, show the process that I'm going to be using, and hopefully we'll make something really, really cool at the end of it, and it might be something that you want to try. So the first thing to do was to try to reduce the thickness of the handles. They were really quite thick, but they came up really nicely when you actually sand them down and just look at the grain. It's really nice. Then of course you've got to do the back side, which again just came up really, really nice there, and then the front edge. And this isn't a very coarse sandpaper, it's about 400 grit, but unfortunately it started coming away, so we just carried on. But yeah, the rivets came out. One of them was a bit stubborn, so we had to hit that with a hammer a few times, but there it is. And you'll see that yeah, it comes apart quite easily, very grubby in there, but it gives us an opportunity to just polish everything up a little bit where it's harder to get at onto the sander. When it's all together, you can see that it fits in really nicely, but there's countersunk holes there, quite large on one side. But I found these sort of brass screw rivet things that fit in really nicely, but they were a bit thick, so we need to file out the holes a little bit bigger. But yeah, they seated really well after that, and that was really nice. So So it just marks out the pick, the shape, and vaguely cut around the shape that we drew on the handles using a diamond bit, of course wearing all appropriate PPE. And you can see here that I took as much as I could off ready for grinding, and it looks alright. Now for the coarse grinder, this is always a bit of a pain, lots of quenching in between, and keep going with the coarse grinder, just slowly nibbling away, quench, quench, quench all the way. And then onto the fine grinding wheel and just carefully shape that profile just how you want it. Just bring it all the way down, but you can see that it's still quite thick. That's still 45 thousandths of an inch thick, I think, 47 thousandths actually. So we're just going to taper it from the handle down to the pick tip, from that 44 thousandths all the way down to about 27 thousandths. And then we can put that back together and sort of see how it's all coming together now, looking really, really nice. I obviously polished it up a bit and didn't show you. Now for the epoxy, not going to show me mixing all that too much, but you get the general idea. The idea is put a thin bit on first, then rub it on the inside of the handle a few times. Do that for a few minutes actually, and then you can put a thicker coat on and then push it all in. That means that you should have good even coating of the epoxy. There we go, and then we can just put on those screws. I dip them in glue first, then tighten them up afterwards. Yeah, you should be wearing gloves for this, so please be sensible and wear gloves. But it was relatively easy to clean off the wood afterwards, and it looks pretty nice, yeah? And here we are, the final thing. This was, I didn't show the polishing of the pick tip. I didn't go crazy on it either. I didn't take it to a mirror shine, although it's pretty shiny. I didn't go all the way. And this was just some teak oil and some beeswax on the wood, which I just sanded to a very fine grit, and then a bit of metal polish on these brass rivets, screws. I don't know what to call them, fasteners. And yeah, I really like the look. Can we just appreciate this rosewood too? I mean, how gorgeous is that? Let me just show you what dry, horrible rosewood looks like, all cracked and split. And then just look at what just a little bit of sanding and wax and a bit of teak oil will do to bring out that gorgeous rosewood colour. I mean, you wouldn't believe they're the same wood, would you? It's wildly different. In terms of overlaying these two profiles, I did slightly slim it down a little bit, so it's not quite as thick at this point, and definitely probably took it down by almost half the overall thickness there, if you can see, just because it's a little bit more comfortable. You could make a pick that thick. I know some people actually prefer that. I don't. I prefer something a little slimmer. I'm just going to leave that there as a reminder. You can see how much metal we removed. Clearly you don't need the whole blade. And if I show how much of a taper I managed to get, you can see here that this is about 27 thousandths, going all the way up to the 45 thousandths all the way up here. So it's a very light taper all the way down. The strength of the metal, it's a little flexible, as you'd expect. It is a stainless steel. I don't know what type, but it's a catering steel. It's reasonably strong. I've got a nice taper on here both ways actually, so I think it will be durable enough. Now, do I like these fasteners, these buttons? Well, I had a choice. I had some 4mm brass screw, which would have worked as well. But when I saw that these would fit and not stick out either side, and I put them on, the more I looked at it, the more I really liked the style, sort of steampunky. And I didn't have to go with these. I could have done something really just to look like that, and maybe that would have made it look a bit more like a knife to give it that kind of like a call back to its origins. But like I said, the more that I kept these on, just really to hold it in place while I was doing it, the more I went, do you know what? I just really like these. So I'm keeping it. Yeah, I think it's really cool. Let me grab a lock or two, just give it a bit of a workout, and we'll see how it picks, shall we? So we're not going to go too harsh with this pick. Just give it a little bit of a workout using some familiar locks. This is the Master Lock 3, of course. Just going through, see what I can feel on the inside there. Pin 1 now, we're on, I think. Come on, all the way to the top. There we go, and we've got an open. So that was quite easy. We'll try this little avocet. Hopefully this hook isn't too deep for it. We'll have a bit of a go. Oh, into a false set. Where is that last pin? I believe it's pin 5 there, and we're open. Well, that worked out quite nicely, didn't it? And we'll do this nice little 6-pin Eurocylinder here with reasonable bitting. So regular on this channel, this lock. Pin 3 there, pin 2, back to the back. Pin 5 into a false set, pin 1 all the way to the top. And open. So yeah, that held up really well. Nice feedback. I mean, it's quite a long tip on here. I wanted it to be sort of in balance with the long handle, but the feedback was very good, and it did flex more than some of the harder picks that I've used picks with harder steel, but it's still quite firm. I think the tapering really helped, and certainly it got through those smaller and more paracentric keyways pretty well. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that overall, especially when you consider where it sort of came from. Just look at that wood again. Look how different that is. And I certainly would recommend giving that a go. You might be lucky that your knife doesn't have those weird pins in it, and you don't have to replace them. You might have a fused handle where you just need to work on the tip. There's a whole host of cheap knives out there which you could have a go with. Like I said, I chose this one because it was in rosewood and brass, and I just thought it would be really nice because rosewood is gorgeous. I mean, really, if I just took this metal out and used a thinner metal, I could probably clamp this up with some epoxy and pins in it, and yeah, I could probably make it work with a thinner steel in there, maybe get away with it, because it's just such nice wood. That really nice. I mean, really is. But yeah, what I might do is just tidy up these handles a bit nicer, and turn them back into something like this. Even if I only get a couple of steak knives out of it, might be worthwhile doing. Just sharpen them up, give them a new lease of life. Why not? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please leave a like. If you like what I did, or you've done something similar, I'd really like to hear about it in the comments. I know loads of people have done knife mods before me, so yeah, let me know about that. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. It really helps me out, and I'll see you all next time.